Hey, what's up there, YouTubers? It's me again, Brian, aka Gamer 55551, and I am back with a My 2 Cent video for this week, for the week of December 18th to the 24th. I would like to say happy holidays to everyone out there, regardless of what holiday you celebrate, whether it's Christmas or Hanukkah. For me, it's on Hanukkah, though. No video review for this week, though. Obviously, it's the holidays, and I'm sure some of you out there are going to be spending time with either friends or family or doing something special, maybe something special for the holidays, though. For me, I'll have, like family come over for one of the nights of Hanukkah, and we're going to have some time, spend time with them and all that stuff. So there won't be any video review for this week, though. Hopefully you guys are enjoying and having a happy and, of course, safe holiday, regardless of what that holiday may be, whether it's Christmas or Hanukkah or Kwanzaa, if I'm saying the name correctly, or any other Pacific holiday you celebrate, though. But anyway, we got 4 stories to cover for this week, including somewhat of an update with the Microsoft Activision Blizzard acquisition in terms of responding from the FTC to the CMA getting some response from what consumers have to say about this merger and deal. We also going to be talking about High on Life and how that managed to do very well on the Xbox, though, especially with it being on Game Pass and all. We're also going to be talking about a lawsuit that the developers of Fortnite had to settle in terms of the issue regarding, the microtransactions and all that stuff. And Nintendo basically hiring someone, but someone who was a producer on the release of God of War Ragnarok, though. If you're interested in where I got source of these information, though, links will be in the description of this video, assuming you're watching this on YouTube. But before we get started, though, I like to do what I like to call the quick My 2 Cents. Stories that kind of caught my attention, but I'm not going to go into a huge amount of details and all. The first one has to do with the upcoming release of Indie Creates, the makers of games like, the Blaster Master Zero series, to some of the Bloodstains games and all that stuff. And of course, the infamous, Galgun game. If you don't know what that is, look it up on YouTube. You'll see for yourself, though. Has announced a release date for their game, Grim Guardians Demon Purge, and it is set to be released on February 23rd, 2023, though. For those who are not familiar with that game, though, it stars 2 of the heroines some of the cast from the infamous Galgun series, though, and puts them into basically a 2D, what looks like a 2D Metroidvania type of approach, though. It is a title I'm going to keep an eye out for because of the fact that I am a fan of, like these Metroidvania 2D styles of games, though. So it's definitely on my radar for next year and all that stuff. So February 23rd, 2024 is going to be for those who are interested in that, might want to keep an eye out for that title. We also learned that supposedly the developers, Famicom of Yeast, want to release 2 more redefined games on the Nintendo Switch. Basically, certain entries have maybe past these titles, which I certainly don't have a problem with that, though. I've been enjoying those games. I love the action RPG, and even the Trial of Cold Steel series, though, as well. So it's certainly nice to see them bringing them more over to the Nintendo Switch. It's nice to bring some of those smaller RPGs, shall we say, or niche RPGs that, while may not have kind of the mainstream as, say, like a Final Fantasy or anything like that, it's still nice to see some of those titles come over, though. I like seeing more RPGs come to the Nintendo Switch. I'm also down with that. We also learned that we have a Western release date for Grim Lore, once more, a title made by basically the Vanillaware series. The developers of Vanillaware, the folks who develop games like Sentinel 13, Aegis Rim, or Odin Sphere, or Miramasa Demon Blade, or Dragon Crown. We have a release date set up for basically April 7th, 2023. It will also be coming to the PS4 and PS5, but it'll be coming to the Nintendo Switch. This one I kind of passed on. I never got a chance to try it out, especially when they announced it, when it originally came out for, I think, the PS2 and all that stuff. I was more into, like Odin Sphere, and of course Miramasa Demon Blade and Dragon Crown. So this one, I might give this one a go since it's coming to the Nintendo Switch, though. I like that Vanillaware is bringing some of their games over to the Nintendo Switch. 13 Sentinel was the first one though, followed by now with this one. I hope this opens the door to bring titles like Odin Sphere, Miramasa, Demon Blade, including with the extra features that were in the PSP, or I think the Vita version though, and Dragon Crown. I would love to see those titles come over to the Nintendo Switch. I personally think they will be a good pick for that system and all. So we'll have to wait and see, but nice to see this one's coming to the Switch and it will be out on April 7th. We also learned that supposedly Hideki Kanema is talking about asking people to approach an open mind with their upcoming Bayonetta prequel. This was announced during the Video Game Awards though. I will admit what they showed is certainly a little bit different than what I'm used to from the past 3 Bayonetta titles though. But at the same time, I am kind of curious to see this different approach. I definitely think it has a unique art style, maybe close to Okami, but not necessarily there or anything like that. But I am willing to take a look at that though. We also learned that Triangle Strategy has now sold over 1 million copies worldwide. It's nice to see that some of these HD 2D games are still doing good, along with Live Alive and of course games like Octopath Traveler. And we're looking forward to the upcoming Octopath Traveler 2 that will be out next year. So nice to see this game certainly is doing very well though. We also learned that Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII Reunion has made it into the top 10 in the UK sales charts. It also, I think, did well in the Famitsu sales charts. Certainly nice to see that game do very well. It was originally on the PSP, and so to see it being released on multiple systems is nice though. I've been playing it on the Nintendo Switch, and I will say, despite it being at 30 frames per second and all, it still plays very well. I would say kind of close to the Final Fantasy VII remake, but I wouldn't go as far as saying it's full exactly like the Final Fantasy VII remake, but still a good game nevertheless. I'm glad to see this one doing very well. We also learned that Rude Factory 3 Special has been rated by the ESRB rating, and it's been given a T rated though. Honestly, I'm not really shocked by this in any way, considering past entries of the Rune Factory series has gotten the T-rated rating system before, so this one isn't entirely surprising at all. We also learned that The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom has officially got its rating, and it's sort of gotten sort of like an E10 rating. It's pretty much sort of similar to what we saw with basically what Breath of the Wild got. So this one isn't really shocking or anything like that. And in the movie and TV shows of the My Two Cent part, we learned that basically the folks who are working on the God of War TV series, I believe for Amazon, will stay true to its source material though. It's going to be very interesting to see how well this one does. We've seen a lot of video games making onto the TV shows though. There have been some success and failures though. Cyberpunk Edge Runner, Witcher, Castlevania have found success though. Some like the Resident Evil or Dragon Dogma or has sort of got mixed response, along with the first season of Halo though. But we'll see how this one does though. We also learned that there will be a second season of the anime Spy X Family, and of course a movie has been announced to it though. I have been enjoying Spy X Family. It's been one of my favorite animes of 2022. I've been watching it on Hulu Plus though, and to hear that there's going to be a movie about it, it certainly is nice though. I'm kind of curious to see what direction this movie will go. Will this dig into the past history of some of these characters, to be exact, whether it's Yuri, Twilight, Anna, if I'm saying their name correctly or anything like that. So I am kind of curious to see what that movie might be. But a second season, I'm definitely happy though, so I'm glad that we're seeing a second season of Spy X Family. We also learned that Avatar Way of the Waters has crossed the 500 million mark so far, and that certainly is good though. There were reports the movie got off to sort of a rough start that was below sort of the expectation Disney has, but it seems to be doing very well though. I'm glad the movie's doing very well. I did enjoy it though, even though I did feel like sort of mixed on the ending, and I will admit it doesn't have the same kind of wow factor the first movie had when that originally came out back in 2009 though. And last but not least, we're learning that that sounds like Black Adam 2 will not be moving forward or anything like that. Now, there could be many reasons. Some might point to the fact the film didn't do very well at the box office, which could be a possibility. Other factors could be the fact that the DC is basically somewhat rebooting itself, courtesy of James Gunn going to the DC universe, not the DC EU in any way. So it might be disappointing for Black Adam fans, but I'm kind of not surprised by if this is not going to happen or anything like that. Okay, with the Quick My 2 Cent part now done, we'll get started with our first story, and this one has to do with Nintendo and to some degree God of War Ragnarok to a certain degree. I know that's going to sound a little bit awkward or confusing, but let me just get to what I'm going to do. One of the biggest games for 2022, though, and there have been plenty, though, don't get me wrong, Elden Ring is definitely one of the biggest games, but Sony also had some pretty good games this year as well, whether it was games like Horizon Forbidden West or God of War Ragnarok, the sequel to the 2018 God of War game released back on the PS4. Now, I've been playing God of War Ragnarok, though, for a bit, though, and I would say my impressions on the game so far is that it's good, but it's mostly, did you enjoy 2018's God of War or did you not? If you did, you'll like Ragnarok. If you didn't, I can't see how Ragnarok's going to interest you as much. But either way, it is a good game. Good game, though, on the PS4 or PS5. I have it on the PS5, nevertheless, though. So it was kind of interesting when I read this headline that apparently one of the producers who worked on God of War Ragnarok has left and is going to work with Nintendo on basically on terms of third-party partnerships and all. In an article posted on by Nintendo Life, though, it reads, quote, one of the video games highlight of 2022 was Santa Monica Studios' PlayStation exclusive God of War Ragnarok. The game arrived last month and it's now been released for fans around the globe, and it seems that there's some movement within the studio. Excuse me. God of War Ragnarok and God of War 2018 gameplay producer Hannah Foell has left the studio to become senior manager of partnership manager at Nintendo of America. Here, she'll be helping build developers and publisher relationship with AAA teams to help bring new experience to players on the Nintendo platform. I think she wrote, I'm so beyond thrilled to join the third-party team at Nintendo of America to drive developers and publishers relationship. I can't wait to get started working on AAA developers to put exciting new experience in players' hands, though. According to Foells, Foells, Lincoln, she worked as game producer at Santa Monica Studios between February 2016 to December 2022. Before this, she was at Harmonix Music Studio for just under a year, working on Rock Band 4 as a producer. The Nintendo Switch has seen plenty of success starting out in 2017, but has struggled at times to attract certain third-party franchises. Fortunately, the situation has improved over the years with series like Persona, Witcher, Borderlands Porter, and even recent Final Fantasy remasters making their way across the hybrid system. So this is kind of interesting to see that one of the folks who worked on God of War Ragnarok is going to be working with Nintendo in terms of bringing more working more with third-party developers and publishers and try to bring some of these AAA's experiences, though. I'm kind of curious what this means. Could this mean a push to maybe figure out putting that 10-year deal Microsoft signed with Nintendo of maybe finding ways to bring Call of Duty in some form or fashion to the Nintendo Switch, maybe bring like an actual Final Fantasy game to the Nintendo Switch or something like that. Maybe this is just a shot in the dark in some ways. Bring the Red Dead series, maybe the first one, or even, dare I say, Red Dead Redemption 2 to the Nintendo Switch, though. So I am kind of curious to see what this person will do when working with, in terms of Nintendo of America, in terms of bringing more third-party developers. Maybe it's more Western third-party developers and all. And it kind of curious to see what this holds for the future of the God of War franchise. Should a third God of War game on like the PS5 basically happens or not. I mean, will they continue what the God of War 2018 and Ragnarok did, or will they go a completely different direction? So there's a lot of questions that remains though, but at the same time, I'm kind of curious to see how this all plays out. So overall, very interesting to see this person who acted as producer for God of War Ragnarok work with Nintendo on terms of AAA or third-party partners, relationship with third-party developers and publisher. It's going to be very interesting to see what this person is able to do in regards of that relationship between third-party developers and publishers and Nintendo, though. Obviously, it was pretty weak with the Wii U, though, but as far as the Switch goes, I would say far from perfect, but definitely a big improvement over the Wii U era, that's for sure. Okay, I'm going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we'll get to part 2, and this one has to do with Fortnite and apparently a fine or some lawsuit, depending on how you want to look at it, they had to pay and all. So we'll take a quick break and we will be right back. Okay, and now we're back with part 2 of my 2 cent video, and for this one, we're going to be talking about Fortnite and apparently a fine that they are facing, to be exact. Now, obviously, everybody has heard of Fortnite and all, and while I'm not the biggest Fortnite person, I'm not really big into Battle Royale games, whether it's that or Call of Duty Warzone or Players Unknown Battleground or anything like that. There's no doubt that Fortnite has become very popular among many folks, including young folks, to be exact. Well, recently, it seems as though Epic Games, the maker of Fortnite, has recently been slapped with a fine, not only in terms of, the issue regarding the microtransaction, but also a violation of COPPA in terms of issues of children, who are playing this, including the possibility of bullying and that kind of stuff. In an article from basically Eurogamer, excuse me, it reads, quote, the U.S. Federal Trade Commissioner, the FTC, has hit Fortnite maker Epic Games with a record-breaking penalty of $520 million over allegation it previously employed a lax privacy practice for voice and text shacking and used design tricks to dupe millions of players into unintentional purchases. The eye-opening judgment included the largest ever settlement obtained by the FTC regarding the U.S. Children's Online Privacy Protection Act, as Fortnite allows in-game chat and user data is collected by default. Fortnite holds a T rating by the U.S. rating board system ESRB, but the FTC has argued Epic Games knew that many of its users were likely under 13 of age and has not obtained their parents' consent, though. The remainder of the fine relates to a separate decision by the FTC that Fortnite included illegal dark patterns to trick players into making unwanted purchases and let children rank up unauthorized charge without any parental involvement. The FTC claims Fortnite applied counter initiatives, inconsistent and confusing button configurations designed to let users purchase things accidentally pre-2018. It was too easy for children to purchase in-game currency without parents' consent, the FTC continues. Another point of criticism was that Epic Games had locked the accounts of customers who used their credit cards to successfully charge back purchases, some of which were in the thousands of dollars. Epic Games has responded to its own detailed statement on the settlement, laying out how it has evolved Fortnite over the years and how it believes the FTC has used statutes written decades ago to target long-standing industry practice that it nevertheless now agrees were not long enough. Excuse me. We anticipate this We accepted this agreement because we want Epic to be at the forefront of consumer protection and provide the best experience for our players, Epic Games wrote. Over the past few years, we've been making changes to ensure our ecosystem meets the expectations of our players and regulators, which we hope will be a helpful guide for others in our industry. Epic Games' statement highlights changes it has put in place over the past 4 years to address the FTC's concern, including a refund token system added in 2018, and more recently, undue purchase systems. More recently still, the game now requires you to hold a button to purchase to confirm intentional. As for the FTC child privacy concerns, Epic points out it has recently launched the Cabinet account for children under 13, a type of Epic account where certain features such as chat and purchasing are not available. No developer creates a game with the intention of ending up here. The video game industry is a place of fast-moving innovation where players' expectations are high and new ideas are paramount, Epic Games wrote. Status written decades ago don't specifically how gaming ecosystems should operate. The laws have not changed, but their applications have evolved, and long-standing industry practices are no longer enough. The old status quo from in-game commerce and privacy has changed, and many developers' practice should be reconsidered. We share the undenying principle of fairness, transparency, and privacy that the FTC enforced, and the practice referenced in the FTC complaint are not how Fortnite operates, Epic Games conclude. We will continue to be upfront about what players can expect when making purchases, ensuring cancellation or refunds are simple, and build safeguards that keep our ecosystem safe and fun for our audiences of all ages. So for me, I kind of see some arguments Epic Games is making and some arguments the FTC is basically making, though. I do agree with some of their statements in terms of the fact that, in a way, as technology has evolved, a lot of our laws really have not caught up in any way. And I do think Epic Games does raise a valid point, though. Nevertheless, though, I don't completely disagree with what the FTC is saying, though, that the fact that they took long enough to sort of put all these features in, and I can see why they find them over unnecessary purchases children might make in terms of using their parents' credit cards and all. And we've seen cases where a lot of parents have seen like their credit card bill go up, or have to spend, or some kids are spending this amount of money for in-game purchases with microtransactions or loot boxes, which we've seen can very much lead into a lot of predatory practices, though. Also, I can understand the voice chat situation, though. While I'm all for free speech online or anything like that, we've seen cases where some folks will use voice chat to really become extremely toxic, just like what we've seen a lot lately with Facebook or Twitter, where we have some people ranging from cyberbullying, harassment to misinformation, and also I think there is a valid argument to some of the stuff. Obviously, it's not the biggest fine the FTC has handed out, but it certainly is a spotted one. So in this one, I kind of see both arguments, and I do think there is a valid point to it, though. Hopefully, this sends a signal that not only do we need to clamp down on these kind of predatory practices to some degree, but it also indicates that, yeah, I think some of our laws need to be modified or updated to meet up with the changes in technology and all. So overall, though, Epic, and I do think both Epic and FTC do have a valid point to their argument, though. Hopefully, this will lead to some big changes going forward. Obviously, Epic is claiming they are making changes, though, but we'll see over time if that still remains or not, though. But it doesn't deny the fact that, on one hand, our laws need to be updated, especially when it comes to changes in technology, while at the same time, something needs to be done in regards to loot boxes and microtransaction, especially since we've seen them can be very much a predatory or practice to how to handle voice chat and online, especially when we have some folks who would either cyberbully someone, harass someone to even misinformation and all. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we'll get to part 3, and this one has to do with High on Life and how it seems to be doing very well so far, at least according to what Xbox is saying. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with part 3 of my 2 cent video, and for this one I want to be talking about the game High on Life. Now this game just recently came out on to the Xbox systems and PC. It's currently available on Game Pass though. It's the newest game made by the folks who worked on the Rick and Morty series though. Now I've played a bit of the game so far, and I like what I'm seeing though. It is a fun game. Humor to me can be kind of a hit or miss depending on how big of a Rick and Morty fan, or if you're into the kind of humor Rick and Morty is known for. Kind of similar to my view about South Park in general. Humor like that can be hit and miss depending on whether you're into South Park humor or not though. But what's been interesting about this game that we've seen so far is that it seems as though there's a split between what critics are saying and what user reviews are saying. Over at Metacritic, if you look at the Xbox Series X version, it currently has the game basically sitting at a 65 by critical score, but an 8.3 by the user scores. Now, some may argue that basically some folks might be trolling and all that stuff, and I mean, that's a possibility though, but I don't deny that there are some those who are writing reviews on user reviews are actually liking the game, and they thought, hey, this is actually pretty good. And recently it seems as though High on Life seems to be doing very well on the Xbox though. So far it's become like the best-selling third-party game on the Xbox system and Game Pass in general though. From a statement from Microsoft, it reads that, quote, High on Life is the biggest Game Pass release of 2022, the biggest third-party launch in Game Pass history, and the biggest single-player game launch on Game Pass ever. This is what they had to say. Quote, today we're happy to announce that High on Life, the comedy shooter featuring charismatic talking guns from Rick and Morty co-creators, Justin Roiland's Squash Games, is Xbox Game Pass' biggest launch of 2022 and biggest third-party Game Pass launch of all time, and the biggest release of a single-player game in the service history. Those stats are measured in terms of engagement based on the number of hours played in the first 5 days of release. This was our first time launching a game with Game Pass, the studio director and CEO of Squash Games, and we've been blown away by the response from the players who have made us the most popular game on Game Pass right now. When Squash Game was first created, it was to make games we wanted to play, and Game Pass is helping us reach the player that we want to play those games. High on Life, excuse me, is an incredible, unique title that we've been excited about for a long time, said Matt Bersey, general manager of content planning at Xbox. It's fantastic to see so many Game Pass members join into at launch and experience Squash story of themselves ahead of the holidays though. It talks about the High on Life, in terms of the story and all that stuff. On top of that, they also put out a tweet that seems to indicate that it's right now has overtaken Minecraft and Forza Horizon 5 Standard Edition. So that's actually kind of impressive for a third-party game like that to do, even overtake something like Minecraft and all that stuff. So it's really interesting to see how well this game has done so far, especially when you look at the user and critic score, the split on that between based off what was on Metacritic though. Obviously, some critics may have different response to it though, but obviously, you can agree or disagree with that though. I think the success of High on Life kind of shows that Metacritic isn't always the end-all, tell-all, similar to Rotten Tomato. Now, I'm not saying Metacritic is wrong all the time. They're not, though, but I'm not saying they're 100% right all the time either. So to see this game do very well for them is, well, it shows that even despite Metacritic, it didn't have really impact on this game at all, though. Similar, like I said, similar to what we see with Rotten Tomato and all that stuff. And it kind of shows that sometimes you can have a game with do great on Metacritic but do poorly in sales, or in some cases you can have one where it does poorly on Metacritic but does great in terms of sales and all. So it's really interesting to see how this all played out for High on Life, though. I'm kind of curious to see more of these kind of titles on Game Pass in general, though. It'll be very interesting to see what 2023 is going to be like for Game Pass and all. So overall, I would say a very interesting situation with High on Life, where you have a case of the Metacritic critical scores is bad, but the user score is good. And despite having a negative critical score, it did not prevent this game from becoming very successful on Game Pass and all. And it kind of shows that we've seen before how some developers who put their games on Game Pass, there's a good chance of their game succeeding. Yes, there have been cases not every game has done well on Game Pass, though, but we cannot deny that there are some that have put their games on Game Pass and have found success and all. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we'll get to our fourth and final part. And this one seems to be more of an update of what's been going on with the Microsoft Activision Blizzard deal. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with our fourth and final part of our My 2 Cent video. And for this one, we're going to be taking a look at the Microsoft Activision Blizzard deal and some more interesting updates that has emerged this week, though. Now, this deal has been sort of a roller coaster of so much information has come out and all. Since it was announced back earlier this year that Microsoft was going to be purchasing Activision, Blizzard and all. And we've seen some back and forths in terms of who approved this deal, who doesn't, to the response we get from several different consumers and all that. So it's been very, very interesting. And now we have sort of an update on some of the situations. So some of it is basically from supposedly the UK CMA and some hearing for what consumers have to say. Some of it is Microsoft's response to the lawsuit set up by the FTC. And another lawsuit seems to be set up by so-called random gamers and all that stuff. So we're going to get started with the first one. And this one has to do with the article from Game Industry Biz in terms of what the UK CMA is basically saying, though. So the article, here's what the article reads, though. Quote, excuse me, roughly 3/4 of public comments on the proposed Microsoft acquisition of Activision Blizzard were in favor of the deal through the UK's competitive and market authorities revealed today. The comments were collected over 2 weeks in October as part of the regulatory's inquiry into the deal. It received roughly 2,600 emails, but excluded around 500 because they contained abusive content with no other substance contents, or were blanked, unintelligible states to be from non-UK consumers or not in English. The remaining 2011 were split into 3/4 in favor of the deal, 1/4 against it, and a negligible number taking no clear stance on the merger. The CMA included some of the reasons people stated their stance. Some of the arguments in favor of the merger included the following. Sony and Nintendo are stronger than Microsoft in console gaming, and the merger will help Microsoft compete more closely against them. Microsoft will not make Activision content exclusive to Xbox post-merger because it will lose a significant portion of revenues from rival platforms. The merger is a reaction to Sony's business model for PlayStation, which has historically involved securing exclusive content or early access to popular cross-platform gaming franchises such as Final Fantasy and Silent Hill. The merger will allow Microsoft to provide Activision with better guidance and leadership, and to encourage to invest in more games other than Call of Duty. As for those who are arguing against the merger, their comments are basically, the merger will lead to a consolidation and would set a harmful precedent in the gaming industry of requiring large publishers rather than encourage organic growth. Microsoft will make Call of Duty exclusive to Xbox, just as it did with Bethesda after it acquired ZeniMax Media. Microsoft can capture the multi-game subscription market after the merger because it can afford to add games to Game Pass at a loss. Microsoft is already dominating in cloud gaming, and the merger could affect the future of new entries into that space. So some interesting points for or against the deal and all. I'm still in the sort of the neutral position on this, to be exact though. And I'm sort of in the position of, I'm not against the FTC looking at this deal very carefully. I'm just not on the position of being hell-bent on hell-bent on stopping this deal no matter what, even if it answers a lot of the FTC's questions in a positive way or not. So I'm still mixed on this deal. In general though, I think there are some pros and cons to this deal, to be exact though, but nevertheless, I'm not against these regulators looking at this deal very, very carefully and all. Anyway, moving on to the next one. This one is from Reuters. This one has to do with what Microsoft told a judge about its deal that will benefit gamers though. It reads that quote, Microsoft Corporation said on Thursday that its $69 billion bid to buy Call of Duty maker Activision Blizzard would benefit gamers and gaming companies alike. Microsoft made the argument in a filing aimed at convincing a judge at the U.S. Federal Trade Commission to allow the deal to proceed, after the FTC commissioner said the merger will hamper competition in the game industry in a complaint this month aiming at blocking the deal though. In a complaint on December 8th, the FTC said its concerns was that Activision's popular game, including World of Warcraft and Diablo, potentially will stop being offered on devices that rival Microsoft's Xbox. It set a hearing and administrative law judge for August 2023. Microsoft President Brad Smith said in mid-December that the company has offered to sign a legally binding consent decree with the FTC to provide Call of Duty games to rival, including Sony and for others, for a decade though. The acquisition of a single game by a third-place console manufacturer cannot upheave a highly competitive industry. That is particularly so when the manufacturer has made clear it will not withhold the game, Microsoft said in a Thursday filing. Smith said in a statement this week he was still confident in the company's legal case, but remains committed to a creative solution with regulators. Activision CEO Bobby Kotick said in a statement that he believes the company will prevail in a legal fight with the trade administration though. The Biden administration has taken a more aggressive approach to antitrust enforcement. The U.S. Department of Justice has recently stopped a $2.2 billion merger of Penguin Random House, the world's largest books publisher, and a small U.S. rival, Simon and Schuster, Simon and Schuster. The Microsoft deal is also facing scrutiny outside the U.S., where the European Union said it will decide by March 23rd, 2023, whether to clear or block the deal. So it's going to be very interesting to see how this court battle takes place, though, and it would be really interesting if somehow this takes, this goes all the way up to the Supreme Court. It would be very, very interesting if that actually happens or not. Again, too early to tell whether that will actually happen or not, but I am kind of curious to see what this judge will rule on it, to be exact though. Again, I'm not against the FTC looking at this deal, but I'm not sure I'm more as hell-bent on making this deal never happen or anything like that. And last but not least, though, and this one's kind of interesting. Apparently, it seems that 10 random gamers are suing Microsoft over the Activision Blizzard deal. This one is from Pure Xbox, and this is what it has to say. It's, quote, as highlighted by Bloomberg this week, a group of video gamers have decided to file a federal antitrust lawsuit against Microsoft's attempt to acquire Activision Blizzard, with the main document of court dockets stating that the threat of loss or damage to plaintiffs and the public at large by the merger of two giants in the video game industry is extensive and broad. There are 10 plaintiffs in all, many of which state are PlayStation, PC, and Nintendo Switch owners, with a few mentioned they currently play on Xbox as well. Similar to Sony's complaint about the acquisition, the suit advised that if the deal goes ahead, it could be determined in many ways. It could detrimental in many ways the gaming industry, though. The plaintiff said if Microsoft proposed acquisition of Activision Blizzard is allowed to proceed, the video game industry may lose substantial competition, and Microsoft may have far outside market power with the ability to foreclose rival, limit output, reduce consumer choice, raise prices, and further inhibit competition. In an extensive document with 45 pages of notes, so the plaintiffs aren't playing around here, but Microsoft doesn't seem overly concerned, repeating to Bloomberg this week that the acquisition will benefit everyone. According to Microsoft, this deal will expand on competition, create more opportunities for gamers and game developers as we seek to bring more games to more people, though. I'm a little mixed on this, and I'm somewhat a little bit concerned. The fact that the majority of these are PlayStation, PC, and even Nintendo Switch owners, it just gives the impression, even if this isn't true, it just gives the impression that there is a hint of bias on this lawsuit to a certain extent, though. It will be interesting to see how far this lawsuit goes, though, but I'm just somewhat a little iffy about the folks, the plaintiffs, this lawyer is representing, to be exact, though. So this has sort of been a very interesting way to close out 2022 with Microsoft trying to purchase Activision Blizzard, though. Whether or not these lawsuits go through or not, that remains to be seen. We'll have to see how everything plays out in 2023. So overall, sort of an odd, interesting way for Microsoft to close out 2022 in regards of their acquisition, trying to buy Activision Blizzard and all. Okay, this concludes this my 2 cent video for this week. And again, these are my opinion. What are yours? What are your thoughts about Nintendo hiring this person who was producer on God of War Ragnarok? Do you think this is a good thing? Do you think this could open the door for more third-party support for the Nintendo Switch or Nintendo's platform going forward? What are your thoughts about this Fortnite lawsuit, though? Do you think this Fortnite was legitimate? Do you think the FTC was right to basically fine Epic Games over this, ranging from the use of the predatory practice with microtransactions to loot boxes to even, the issue with voice chat in regards of cyberbullying, harassment, misinformation and all? What are your thoughts about High on Life becoming very successful on Game Pass? Do you think this is a good thing, though? Do you think this could encourage more developers to try Game Pass more and all that? Do you think this might have Microsoft to consider trying to push more of their first-party games out for Game Pass and all? And what are your thoughts about this whole this whole situation with Microsoft and Activision and all that stuff? Do you think these public comments are good? Do you think they will persuade the CMA to vote yes on the merger, though? Do you think Microsoft has a strong case against the FTC? Or do you think the FTC has a strong case against Microsoft in terms of the acquisition of Activision and Blizzard? And do you think there's a legitimate case of these so-called random gamers suing Microsoft over them buying Activision Blizzard? Or do you think this is nothing more than a stunt? Do you agree with what I said in this video? Do you disagree? Do you have a difference of opinion? As always, sound off on the comment section below. Let me know what you think. And if you do like this video, I hope you hit the like button. I will appreciate it. And I hope you do subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you do, make sure you hit the bell icon for notifications of any new videos I put up. Also, feel free to share this video if you want to. And feel free to donate to my channel if you like. You can do it through PayPal me or Patreon. Links will be in the description of this video, assuming you're watching this on YouTube. And I will see you again next time when I do another video. Hopefully that'll be soon. Until then, from Southern California, I wish you all a good day and happy holidays, though. Bye.